Hey y'all, Ron here. I miss the good old days. You know, back when you can buy a house for around a nickel, go to college for around an ounce of gold, and play some of Nintendo's most classic video games. But, to hell with all that. We're gonna play the Call of Duty for us Nintendo fanboys. In my opinion, video games can be the absolute pinnacle of art. You see, because of how immersive video games can be, they can often outperform every other media of human expression. Something like the art style of Ori, the gameplay of Hades, or the music of really any Zelda game will show you that video games have and can be actual art. However, this is not the type of games we're going to be talking about today. Today, we are talking about comfort food games, and I love comfort food games. They are always there, they are always the same, and while yes, they are popular for a reason, they are not exactly what I would consider the best of the best. And this is where the Pokemon series has firmly been for the past 25 years. You see, the Pokemon series is one of Nintendo's highest grossing franchises. I would probably not even like video games as much as I do today without my introduction into the Pokemon franchise. When I was little, I really only had a Wii, and my only quote-unquote good game was Mario Kart Wii. I didn't have any traditional Zelda games, I didn't have any traditional Mario games. However, I did have a shit ton of LEGO games, but for some reason, these masterpieces are typically not considered for Game of the Year.
Oh,
You see, around 11, I hit that age that every little boy does, when Pokemon cards just become the coolest thing ever. I still really haven't had the heart to stop this addiction. But quickly, this obsession spread to everyone in my elementary school. Everyone was consuming all different types of Pokemon media. The cards, the games, the comics, the anime. I wasn't actually allowed to watch the anime when I was little. My parents thought it would corrupt me or something. This is perfectly normal, Mom. However, when I was 12, I asked my parents for a 2DS and a copy of Pokemon Alpha Sapphire for Christmas. And while I waited for Christmas, I found my sister's old Game Boy in the attic and her copy of Pokémon Red. After quickly cleaning out the corrosion that was left from the batteries in the back of the Game Boy that my sister kindly left for me, I quickly booted up the game and deleted my sister's save file. In retrospect, I probably shouldn't have done that, but I would do it again. Pokemon as a concept is just genius. You see, you trap these cute little animals into tiny little balls, force them to wage war against one another to become the best there ever was, but also you can forever change their bodies so they do better in these battles, and you cannot forget about the beauty pageants where you can make them self-conscious about not fitting into society's unrealistic beauty standards. Real talk, the Pokemon games are my favorite comfort games of all time. The concept of finding friends all around the region to battle and grow is a really comfortable and fulfilling gameplay loop. The original concept for these games came from the original developers catching bugs and tadpoles in Japan, and especially with the early games, you can feel at ease in a forest or a cave, catching bugs and other animals, or, God. Man, this makes me sound like a really lonely kid in high school and elementary school. I mean, I swear, I was the most popular, handsome, funniest kid in school. I was never single in my life ever. Now, I am by no means saying that any of these games are the best in the series. Instead, I'm emphasizing that if you enjoy Pokemon, you should give these games a playthrough at least once. These games can be some of the best RPG experiences that you can have. Similarly, they introduce fundamental aspects to the Pokemon series, like Poké-Centers, Evil Teams, Gyms, and the Elite Four, all of which are heavily missed if they are absent in current titles. Like this guy's a turtle, you can't get more original than that! Let's start at the beginning of the game. First, I will say that somehow this is the best tutorial that the Pokemon franchise ever really had. You get your starter Pokemon, you battle Pee-Pee, you go to the Pokemart, you grab a parcel, and you return it to Oak. Then, you basically can play the game. There isn't some stupid bullshit keeping you from being able to start your adventure like there are in some of the future games. The Pokemon team, for some reason, loves trapping you in the beginning area, explaining some of the most basic gameplay mechanics in video games. And I get it. They want to ensure that all their players can understand the basic fundamentals in their games, and Pokemon is a children's game after all. But for God's sakes, can you respect my time with a way to bypass some of these areas? No, I do not need an hour-long tutorial for you to teach me how to battle when this is my 20th Pokemon game.
I'm not okay.
To sum up the entire story, you want to go battle each gym across Kanto and collect all the gym badges. Then you get to challenge the final boss rush and become the champion. Along the way, you get to beat up gang members and little kids. I mean, what's not to like? Something I've never really understood is why you and your rival were the only two that ever really got better. Like, I get it, this is supposed to be a stupid, easy, old kids game, and I understand that you really weren't supposed to think about world building. They did attempt to fix this in later games by having different people come to challenge you for your title, or having trainer Joey call you only to battle you with his level 46 Caterpie. But it never really explained or fixed why you're on the fast track to become champion, and Swimsuit Michael over there, stuck in the middle of the ocean, just has a singular tentacle and that's all he can ever have. As much as I love this game, it is ass slow. It takes you forever to do anything in this game. At least when you get your bike, it speeds walking up a little bit. But to get your bike, you have to walk into a random house near the third gym, go back to the previous town and exchange a ticket that you got from some random guy in that house for a bike. And even then, the battles and everything else just take forever. However, at its base, the gameplay loop is super solid. This is definitely the first Pokemon game. The battles, the Pokemon, the gyms, and the rival, they're all there. However, there's no abilities, there's no items, there isn't even gender in the game at this point. Playing through it all again, I forgot how unforgiving this game can be. While it is by no means a super challenging or technical RPG, the game can roadblock you for a while and even force you to grind or come up with different strategies. However, do not get it twisted. This game is super bare bones and easy. If you want a super basic, nostalgic RPG to play through, the original Pokemon has your back. I guess we can talk about the art style. I mean, this is a classic Game Boy game. I don't really know what to tell you. It's sprite-based, it gets the job done. I will say that the Pokédex entries are super high quality for the Game Boy pixel art. The sprites are rather odd at this point in the franchise, especially in Red and Blue. I will say Pokemon Yellow's art style in general is just better. Yellow came out a few years later, and the Pokemon Company was really able to solidify what kind of art style they were going for. Also in Yellow, you get to have Pikachu follow you around everywhere, which is never a bad thing. I will say, musically, these games really hit it out of the park. Most of these themes are motifs throughout the rest of the series, and none of them really sound like they were held back by the hardware. Some of Pokemon's most iconic themes came from these games. I mean, we can all remember Pallet Town, Lavender Town, the opening theme, the battle theme, I could go on. And you would probably know exactly what themes I was talking about. I mean, we have all felt uneasy in Lavender Town. At the end of the day, all three of these games hold up incredibly well. If you're going to go back and play one, your best bet will probably be Pokemon Yellow. It certainly holds up the best. While there are definitely annoyances and absolute jank just scattered throughout all these games, there's also a certain level of charm. It's weird talking about these games as somebody who grew up after they came out. I mean, even though these were technically my first Pokemon games, for many others, they just view these games as obsolete or not worth their time. And to be completely honest, I understand these views. I mean, I can't even deny that these games are absolutely frustrating at times. However, without going back and playing these games, especially in addition to other Game Boy games, it's just hard to really understand how Pokemania really took hold in our culture back then. At the time, these games were incredibly high quality, especially for the system they were on. Well, that was me glazing the original 3 Pokemon games for entirely too long. But I think we came away with a very valuable lesson today. You gotta put up with just a little bit of jank in order to appreciate the older things in life. And you know what? I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna start a store where I buy old janky things and give them a second shot! Well, it turns out that you need to do something called turn a profit to have a successful business. And the bad news is I'm in an incredible amount of debt and I have next to nothing in my name. The good news is that I sold all of my stuff to a guy in a creek for this alligator pin.